Good afternoon and welcome to another Kerfuffle showcase. And I am delighted today to have Colin from Adiuvo.
Close enough.
We've literally, sorry everybody, because I'm so professional, I was just spending minutes with Colin backstage trying to get that right, and I did warn him that I was going to absolutely completely mess that up, but I've tried my best anyway. The important thing is I got Colin right, so that's
Yeah.
you know, I'm all about the glass being half full here. Colin, give us a little bit about your background, and then we're going to touch on the business.
Okay, so me, my whole history in property has been in property management from way too many years to remember. First starting kind of regionally for part of the Countrywide group many years ago in asset management, which was a posh way of saying we looked after distressed properties. And then through Kinley Folkard and Hayward and Douglas and Gordon in both lettings and block management. For a few years up in town until I decided along with the other director of the company who was ex-Clutton's that we would start Adiuvo, as we would say. And so my background has been almost entirely my whole professional life in property management.
Cool. Okay, that's why you're looking so refreshed, and obviously it's there's no stress in that part of the job at all, is there?
Yeah, none.
Okay, and give us an overview for the listeners and the watchers out there. Adiuvo, let us know what you do as a business.
Okay, so we are a professional out of hours, predominantly call handling service for the property industry. And so we will take all of your emergency calls out of hours, white labeling the service, and what we would say is the difference between us and certain other providers that are out there that can certainly answer your phones out of hours, albeit whether it be 2 o'clock in the morning or Christmas Day or whenever it was, because unfortunately we never ever shut 365 days a year, 24/7, is that because I'm from a property background and so are a lot of my team, we actually triage those incoming calls, make sure that we only instruct on the emergencies, because obviously as we all know there's an uplift in costs at sending a plumber out at 3 o'clock in the morning as opposed to 11 o'clock the next day, or again on a bank holiday or anything like that. And then we manage, if necessary, the whole of that emergency to its completion before handing back to our clients the next working day.
So that's fascinating. So that, as you mentioned, there's great companies out there, the likes of Moneypenny and other ones out there that do that kind of the call answering, as they famously always used to say. We answer calls, and that's all we're doing. And what you guys have done from day one is actually say, no, we're going to explore and develop that niche, and we are going to expertly handle this property management element of it, and actually do far more as your own internal team would be able to do, to make sure that you actually progress it to the right point in the quickest possible time.
That's right. Or probably just as pertinently, not process it sometimes, because
I was going to say isn't that, I mean, I can imagine that you could deal with any number of actually companies who would just be very good at saying, well, we're going to just escalate this. But as you've mentioned, with the cost element of this, that's absolutely the last thing you'd want to do, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And especially as if I'm acting for you as the estate agent, for example, I'm not even spending your money, I'm spending your client's money. So it's even worse if I can't justify to you why I've taken a certain course of action. Unfortunately, if at 3 o'clock in the morning somebody's washing machine's not working, then that's not actually an emergency in the true sense of the word. You can still hand wash a shirt for work the next day or whatever it might be. But if you've got water pouring out of the boiler, then obviously that is. I mean, interestingly, we've been doing this for 13 years now, and our stats would say that about 36% of all calls that we receive are actually emergencies. So about 2 in 3 calls that we get aren't emergencies. I think the key thing there is that we don't just have a computer says no kind of response. We'll still take all the details. We'll report it back to our client. We will, with knowledge, tell the caller why it's not going to be done right now, but that the main office, as we would refer to them, will pick it up the next day. But in the 1 out of 3 that are emergencies, then that's when we kick into gear. Actually, they're the easier ones to deal with rather than telling people no, they can't have a brand new cooker on Boxing Day or something along those lines, or whatever the unusual requests that we get might be. The emergencies are actually the easiest ones, because
Yeah,
then
good thing.
we can
Yeah.
just instruct a contractor, coordinate and liaise with them throughout the emergency, and then, as I said, report it back to our clients the next day.
So you just have direct, you actually have direct links through to all the relevant contractors for the agencies as well. So there's no middleman stuff. It's not going through back to the agency. You go straight to the relevant contractors to get this progressed in the quickest possible time. Yeah.
Absolutely, in one of two ways. Either the one of three ways, mate. Either the client, the estate agent, can say, "Hey, this is our plumber for any kind of related issues. This is our electrician," or they can, and often do, give us access to their CRMs, and then we can go on. I'll give you an easy one, Reapit, for example, and then go and say, "Oh, okay, so for this property, the landlord wants us to use X," or unfortunately, they have a British Gas policy because they're not worth the paper they're printed on, but people still use them. And or if none of that works for our agent and he doesn't want to provide a contractor, we can do it ourselves. We have coverage for the whole of the UK in being able to find that plumber in Ipswich, Loughborough, Edinburgh, Bristol at 3 o'clock in the morning if needs be. But if our client wants to use their own, or our client's landlords want to use their own, then we're more than happy to instruct those.
So it can be. It sounds like can be quite nuanced depending on the agent you're dealing with.
Yeah, and a nuance between different agents and even between different properties. So you again could have ABC plumbers as your preferred guys on 99 out of 100 of your properties, but if you've got it specially marked that Mr. Smith has his own preferred guy, as I'm sure you know some landlords do, then we can go down to the macro and the micro basically, and even do it from property to property different.
That's a really nice feature to have in your kit bag as well. I mean, obviously, I'm a bit of a train spotter for CRMs, but so to be able to actually go in and use most of the well-known one there as well, that must be a nice feature for most of your clients, knowing that they obviously there's no rekeying of information and things like that, and everything.
Whether it be Reapit or Radar or Spazier, or if because it's just on the maintenance side, Fixflow or whatever, we can access the details via our client. They'll give us logins and we'll just go grab it and make sure. And then also that means that if they've got any special kind of notes for the landlord or the resident perhaps on file, that they need special attention or that they can cause issues or anything like that, we get access to all of that.
And give us a flavour of the kind of clients you're dealing with at the moment. I mean, when we spoke about initially, it's a pretty impressive client base, isn't it?
We are lucky enough to work with some really good clients. It's kind of come from our background that we started possibly more in block management and then moved over. So some of the multidisciplinary firms have picked us up, but we work for Savills, Cluttons, Knight Frank, Hamptons, Chestertons, kind of, I guess, some of the more bluer chip versions of letting agents, as well as, just as much a one branch estate agency in Lincoln or anything like that. So we do the whole thing, but we are lucky enough to work with some of the bigger names as well.
They're the bluest of chips. That's the So I don't need to ask about your service level agreements and stuff like that, because obviously they expect the very best, and I'm assuming they must be getting it. And I think the key thing is you've been working with a number of these names for a long time, haven't you? So it's just the most obvious point there that for a company to keep clients like those on board who set and expect the very highest of standards, you've got to really make sure you're meeting up those high values.
That or nobody else wants to answer the phones at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to think the former, and it is our niche, and and obviously we like to think that we keep the repeat business, and without bigging ourselves up too much, we're responsible out of hours for that company's brand, because 99% of our clients want us to answer in their name. We do that. So we would answer as, ABC Estates or whatever it might be out of hours. So we're actually entrusted with their brand between 6 o'clock at night and 9 o'clock the next working day, at least on the maintenance side. To be those people, we are purporting to be their emergency out of hours service. So, they believe they're talking to that company. So hopefully that reflects what we do. Yeah.
I think the key thing there is that we're having a number of offline conversations with other suppliers, and the likes of, we were talking about to Vabu earlier, who do like tenant awards and things like that, and we'll be talking to some of the actual review platforms. And of course, it's so hard for agents to defend their reputations online, because so many tenants issue such a critical view of agents without really understanding why. So as you said, you are representing these companies out of hours, but there's nothing more guaranteed to get one of those people giving a critical review if they simply can't get in contact with them, which of course is the key element here. And as you said, kind of with a bit of a shrug earlier, 24/7, 365 a year. But that's incredible, isn't it? I mean, and actually, we were talking at EA Masters. Increasingly, you've got to stop thinking about the fact that you are being judged against fellow estate agents. In this day and age, you're being based against other businesses in whatever vertical they are. And increasingly, if those ones are moving to a 24/7 ethos, it's like that, isn't it? That's what the expectation is. You can get on the phone to someone and deal with it at any given time.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when we first started 13 years ago, there was occasionally people that raised their eyebrows and said, "I'm not sure if we actually need this," but I'm pretty certain. I mean, it doesn't have to be us. We would like to think it should be, but everybody, it seems now, needs to have something in place to be able to, and not necessarily, to find out if that 2-bed's still available or whatever. But if you've got tenants that you're responsible for, and their boiler stops working on December the 14th when it's -3 degrees and they've got a 2-year-old in the property, you do have a problem if you don't have a way for those people to, to get help and assistance, which is what Adiuvo stands for, by the way, in Latin. That's where the name comes from.
Colin, thank you very much for your time today. Wish you the very best, and tell the team who are working on Christmas I'm thinking of them.
Thanks very much, Simon. Thank you for your time.
Cheers, Colin. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.